Well, Jeremy Boring just returned to the internet after his ouster from the Daily Wire, and he's pretty mad. As he's angry at Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, as he has some very interesting things to say on the Trigonometry podcast, as of course he didn't hold anything back, calling the hiring of Candace Owens to one of his, quote, biggest mistakes, as Candace Owens is answering back, and then going after Jeremy in a very serious way, talking about misappropriation of funds. We're talking about what happened allegedly to Brett Cooper, as now we have a very big internet war of words that is really fascinating and interesting to see here, as this really does tell you the true state of the right, which is divided and fractured more than ever. Now, I personally want to see some receipts here, but obviously there's a big rift. There's a big difference between the Tucker Carlson and the Ben Shapiro of the right here, as I think this is really important to talk about, as of course we're looking at the future of the Republican political party and leadership after Donald Trump here, and it's pretty clear these factions can't coexist together. So which one will win? We're going to talk about that and a lot more all in this video. If you appreciate these type of conversations, subscribe, click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you spend with us. As, of course, we have this interview. Here's the kind of intro snippet from Trigonometry with Jeremy Boring doing his first ever sit-down ever since leaving the Daily Wire.
There's a huge civil war going on the right now, and the question is, what direction is the country going to go? I certainly think that hiring Candace is probably the biggest mistake of my professional life so far. I've asked Candace on 2 separate occasions, what do you actually believe? And on both occasions, she told me, I believe what the people believe. I am the voice of the people. But she's articulating audience capture as a virtue. She's now talking about doing expose documentaries on Charlie Kirk's widow. That is evil. I see a huge alignment between, Antifa thugs tearing down statues of Christopher Columbus and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and people on the so-called new right saying that Churchill is the chief villain of the Second World War, or that America shouldn't have used the atomic bomb to end.
Now, that's a big difference there, okay? Antifa people and left-wing people destroying American history, while other people saying, yeah, we'll examine. I mean, it's in the same realm and topic of discussion here, but it's a very interesting argument that has kernels of truth in it, but for me, on surface value of it, are absurd. It's crazy to say, hey, we can't talk about what happened in the South, to people saying, hey, did we actually need to use the nuclear weapon?
In the Second World War, that's just rhetorically tearing down our statues in the same way that Antifa.
No, I don't think so. It's not the same thing. The left is saying, you can't talk about this. You're bad. You're horrible. That's not the same.
Is physically tearing down our statues. I think that Tucker is doing an enormous amount of damage to the Trump coalition.
Now, is it Tucker, or is it all the people that Tucker is responding to that are attacking him, vilifying him, trying to cancel him, trying to destroy his businesses and enterprises, while, of course, freaking out about all the things that he, of course, stood on principle on, that Donald Trump campaigned on? That's the biggest kind of disassociation here. Obviously, clearly, I have my own biases here when it comes to this particular story. Obviously, I have my own kind of alignments. I absolutely agree more with Tucker Carlson. I mean, Tucker Carlson sent me a gift bag, right? We're giving the gift bag out to members. Check out my post on social media to see that as a giveaway. Anyway, I digress. Obviously, I have more of a personal relationship and more of a bias here against Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring. That's clear. So you guys got to know where I'm coming from here. As clearly there's the old Neocon Bush right and this new right that is also in kind of a fight within also itself. It's like, okay, you got the neocons versus the new right, and then the new right versus the extreme new right. And then we have seen exchanges where the new right even fights each other. We've seen Candace fight Nick, Nick fight Tucker, Tucker fight Nick, and then they came and interviewed each other, and now they're attacking each other once again. So it's like these like internal little battles happening here as I'm just trying to say, hey, we're losing. We're losing economically, we're losing culturally, we're losing politically, we have the political will and power, and we're literally giving the left layups and retreating after they're violating and destroying civil rights of people. Why are we doing all of this? As hardened leftist criminal mafioso types are literally running circles around us. And I'm saying now we're just hyper-focusing on just destroying each other. And I would argue the establishment neocon right is the one fomenting a lot of this kind of divide because they're angry. They don't want some conversations to be had. They don't want to push the Overton window open as far as some people on the right do. And yeah, I think he has some truth here when it comes to audience capture, right? I think, listen, I like to call a spade a spade. I like to be honest. I think Jeremy Boring is on point when he says some people are just audience captured. And I do see that. You know, there's also marketing agencies involved here. And this whole thing, in my personal opinion, smells like a psyop. As, of course, Jeremy Boring came after Nick. Nick doesn't like Candace. Nick doesn't like Tucker. They're all fighting together. And he, of course, is going after Nick saying Christ is king, which I find a little ridiculous. Now, his accusations about grifters, it's fascinating, too, as Candace has some very interesting things to say about him. And allegedly his $60 million Hungary endeavor. What in the world happened there? We'll talk about that and a lot more in a little bit. Before we do, we wanted to remind you to check out wearechange.shop. If we're talking about grifters, check out our tea. We got some great, amazing, incredible tea available here. Look at that. We got some green tea and we got some white tea. I like tea. I just started once again to reintroduce hot tea into my diet, and I really like it. It really does help me when it comes to digestion. Drinking really hot tea has some kind of medical benefits, according to some people who talk about specifically how it's a great way to try to avoid getting sick, as when you get those really hot teas in there, you're able to destroy a lot of the bad stuff that's building up in your system. As people are saying, drinking white or green tea. We have white and green tea available here. The peach tea is the white tea. The green tea is the lemon ginger organic tea, all loose leaf. People are saying drinking white or green tea every day will minimize environmental damage done to your skin and minimize fine lines and wrinkles. That's according to some people. I don't know. I'm not going to make those claims. I don't give a damn about wrinkles. I got a bunch of them. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We have Dr. Dennis Walker saying black, green, white, and oolong teas have been associated with long-term health benefits. Loose leaf tea is considered by some to be preferable to tea bags, owing to chemical residue in the paper of the bags, which it is claimed can end up in the tea. Yeah, it's a lot of the tea companies just use plastic. They just plastically lined. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Ours is loose leaf. It's the preferred type. It's the good type. You can get special cups, or you just put in the loose leaf. You put in the hot boiling water. Bada bing, bada boom. I like this stuff. It has been drinking from centuries. A lot of people are really bullish on coffee, but they get anxiety. So I recommend, hey, check out white tea, check out green tea. All available. wearechange.shop. The peach tea is the most flavorful, awesome tea that I have had. We only have 69 of these bags left. We only have 46 of the green tea left. Once you get it, you'll love it. Get it while supplies last. wearechange.shop. Now, let's get back here. As people are saying, Jeremy Boring was talking about how bad grifters are. And people were saying, brought to you by Jeremy's Razors, Jeremy's Chocolates, Mr. Bertram, and the Candace Stocking Channel. As the Daily Wire, and again, he's not under the leadership of the Daily Wire anymore. But when there was a clear all-out war between Candace and him that got very personal, that got very real, that involved other people like Brett Cooper. Candace is coming out against Jeremy Boring for Brett Cooper. Allegedly, she faced a major lawsuit because of that. Even though she says she knew she was going to get sued, she still did it anyway to allegedly protect Brett Cooper against Jeremy Boring. Brett Cooper no longer is with the company. There's rumblings of her potentially being on Fox. And so far, she's just releasing videos saying, hey, I'm friends with Ben, and I'm friends with whoever I want to be friends with, and I'm friends with Candace as well. And she's telling people to grow up and stop lecturing and trying to control people's speech, which is the sentiment that I absolutely agree with, and I think she absolutely is right for that. Here's what Jeremy had to say about, quote, grifters.
And there is a lane for the pure cynic. I call it the grift industrial complex. Yeah. Beware the grift industrial complex. It's real. It can be incredibly lucrative, and it can be incredibly rewarding, too.
One would know. One would know.
In terms of the feedback that you get from audience. If you tell people what they want to hear, they are always very happy with you. If you tell people always what they want to hear, They reward you financially.
Now, in this day and age, yes, there are a lot of people that are audience capture, like what's getting views, what's not getting views. I always try to have a more holistic approach where I always tell people the truth. I was on the court hearing yesterday. We had a disagreement about whether what happened in Minneapolis was a good shot or bad shot. I think it was a bad shot. He thinks it's a good shot. We respectfully had our opinions. The chat blew up and went crazy on me, and it's okay. And I'm like, and people are saying some hurtful, mean things, and it's like, okay, all right, I get it. This is still my opinion because this is what I came to a conclusion of. Now, did my conclusion change after seeing mean comments? For some people, it would. I don't respect people like that. I respect people who are willing to have an honest, open conversation that doesn't just placate to the kind of beat of the drums or the boot that's out there that people want to worship. We're not here to do that. We're here to be honest and have a real legitimate conversation based off my own thoughts and observations and being in this movement for over 21 years, seeing, analyzing, studying, and being hypercritical of government and central forces. And I think I'm right. And even though vast majority of people were saying I was wrong yesterday, I respect their opinions and I'll listen to them, but I will also look for legitimate arguments. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, they convinced me. No, they just mob ruled you, and they just rolled over you, and they just told you what to believe. I still believe it's a bad shot. Now, again, legally, it's excusable. Sure. Bad shot. You don't do that. Anyway, here's Jeremy continuing on.
They reward you, by clicking and by liking, by giving you that affirmation and that dopamine. And pretty soon, that becomes the thing that you serve.
Now, yes, some people are like that, but now we're living in a very tumultuous right-wing media space where people are like, I love Alex Jones. I hate Alex Jones. I love Nick Fuentes. I hate Nick Fuentes. He's a Fed. No, they're a Fed. Oh, we're all Fed. What? Who's a Fed? It's like people are no longer. There's like campaigns. There's algorithm shifts. No longer are we living in this kind of fairy tale world where people are being just told nice, beautiful things all the time? That's not a world we're living in, all right? And if you can't stand the heat in the kitchen, don't be in the kitchen. Don't be in the media space. And there's been a lot of people that have said a lot of really mean, awful things, and it's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. And I understand this show doesn't go on if it's not for the haters, if it's not for the people that are willing to come out and say that I'm wrong. And I actually respect and I like those people a lot because they're actually willing to have a real, legitimate, honest conversation, which I kind of agree with Jeremy. A lot of conversations aren't really legitimate. A lot of them are astroturfed. A lot of them are paid for. A lot of them are manipulated. A lot of them are grifted. But the Daily Wire, I would say, are some of the biggest grifters in the field.
Making money can never be the highest priority. When you're ordering the priorities of a company like the Daily Wire, when you're ordering the priorities of a business like the business you have with trigonometry, you have to keep the mission as your number one priority because definitionally all the other priorities will subordinate to it. And there is a lane for the...
Yeah, and this is why I have my core principles and values that I personally believe in, right? I have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, limited government, getting rid of the Federal Reserve, not starting wars, protecting free speech, protecting people's ability to be private, and of course, trying to stop government overreach and spying, tracking, and databasing every step that you do. That's my core principles, and I've been speaking out against policies, regardless if it's a Democrat or a Republican office, and if you're going to take a perspective and a holistic point of view, I don't think I ever bet on my principles. Lots of people don't have those principles, though. Now, Candace responded. This is what she had to say during the beginning of her broadcast against Jeremy Boring.
And speaking of different ways to grieve, the now former CEO of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, is back trying to make a comeback to reclaim his name in the press after he ran the company into the ground with his petty grievances and personal passion projects. And like everyone in the mainstream media, he appears to be auditioning for a role at AIPAC in the very tried and true manner of publicly attacking Tucker Carlson and yours truly, correlating us to Antifa thugs. And also...
Yeah, I think that argument is absolutely ridiculous. Now, Candace, of course, then went on, and as she went point by point, spent a lot of her time describing what was going on. She talked about how his return is desperate. She talked about why the Daily Wire went broke. Allegedly, there was $67 million being spent on importing Spanish bowls to Italy. What? Allegedly, he had a full mental breakdown on set. And there's a lot of Brett Cooper drama, of course, that went on as well here. This is what she kind of described. I thought this was the most kind of important response here.
And they need to hear this, and they're just somewhere they're passing away listening to Jeremy Boring talk about somebody who likes attention. Jeremy Boring is the CEO who woke up every day. Like I'm his biggest regret. So many more regrets that I could toss out of him. I'm going to try a few. Like getting up every day, going into the office and getting your hair and your makeup done to play the role of a CEO. Making talent, people who had shows, wait outside while you close the room, had people wash your hair, do your makeup, and style you. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on a clothing rack so you could go sit in the office and take phone calls like a CEO. That probably actually was the honest Jeremy. He's always been an aspiring actor. That's who he wants to be. He wants to be on a stage, and he literally builds stages every time he speaks at the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring is a person that is so obsessed with himself and thinks about nobody else that he put the company into debt. What happened? What's the true story? What happened to the Daily Wire? Jeremy Boring was wanting to live out his boyhood theater kid dreams, right?
Now, she then accuses him of spending $67 million on this book project. That's a lot. That's a lot of money here, to say the least here. Then they went on talking about Brett Cooper, which I thought was interesting.
Now, were I in your shoes, Jeremy, I might even rank you bizarrely telling Brett Cooper, then a very young employee of yours, just a few weeks before she was slated to get married, sitting her down and telling her that she shouldn't do that because you had big plans and you were going to turn her into a star because you're the magic. I would probably rank that at the tippity top of bad corporate decisions, among others. You maybe forgot yourself in that moment, as you always do. Maybe got a little swept up in you. But conservatives, those pretending to be conservative companies, certainly are not supposed to chase Hollywood fame above family. And I think personally that she made the right decision to leave. And then you made, again, the wrong decision, like the angry, repressed homosexual that you are, to not just allow a young woman, again, 21 years old, to just leave, but to, again, stalk, because that's what you do. You stalk. You pretend it's a business, but you're glorified stalkers. In this time, in the most sadistic manner possibly ever, offering an obscene amount of money to her maid of honor at that wedding that you didn't want her to have, to hurt her.
Now, this definitely seems very personal and private details behind the scenes. I bet Jeremy probably has his own version of events with what happened here. But this is what Candace says was happening behind the scenes here. We you know, we still haven't heard from Brett about what happened here, but I don't know if she could even speak out against it since there's a lot of contracts involved here. And she talks about how she was sued for even talking about some of this stuff.
Placing her with her maid of honor because you wanted Brett Cooper, a young woman, to suffer for simply wanting to change jobs, which is why you worked behind the scenes through the same demented PR orbit to try to smear her, the friendly pop culture young girl, as an anti-Semite over an Instagram like because she liked a year-end roundup of my podcast, and you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that. You know, I'd rank that as another mistake, but what I rank as one of my prouder moments and all of that was using some of my nuclear energy to stand up for her publicly.
She says that because Jeremy compared her to nuclear energy, saying she's like nuclear energy. She's great if she's harnessed. When she's not harnessed, she goes off, and it's really bad for everyone, and she's radioactive. And Candace was like, "Yeah, you just want to control me, didn't you?" And I think that comparison is pretty indicative of kind of what happened here.
By contractual restraints, using my platform to say what you did to her was wrong. And when you sued me for that, for standing up for Brett Cooper, I want you to know that I communicated to my legal team that I would accept that. I would accept the penalty of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which you wanted to impart upon me, for me doing the right thing and standing up for someone who didn't deserve what you were putting her through. You did put me through it, and you were trying to put her through it. And I told my husband that I would gladly pay that money.
Now, the ousting of Candace and Brett Cooper from the Daily Wire definitely got pretty ugly. It got very kind of personal here. Now, again, there's a clear shift. The Ben Shapiro, Jeremy Borings, Mark Levin's of the world versus the kind of Tucker Carlsons of the world here that definitely do have a disagreement when it comes to policy, when it comes to how government should act. It's a big divide here. And I know a lot of people on the conservative right want to specifically just say that they're just like liberals. Well, I don't think so. I think there's a reason why a lot of people rebuked the kind of Bush-era, old-school neocon Republicans and voted for what Donald Trump represented, as of course Donald Trump is kind of a representative of both of these policies and individuals and personalities that are playing out right in front of us. And where does this go from here? I don't know. I don't see the neocons winning, right? I don't see it. I see the anti-establishment, right wing, if they could get their stuff together and not fight and destroy each other, be the more prominent, more successful political party here. That's my opinion. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for getting the tea. Great tea. Sip Happens microplastic-free tea. Great for you know what. Stay tuned for more all here exclusively on youtube.com/LukeRadowski70.